Let's talk Escape from Pretoria. Constantly talking Escape from Pretoria, constant. Okay, so just wanted to do a short segment on the research that I did, or that I found rather, leading up to filming Escape from Pretoria. I'm always big on doing some research, regardless of the part that I'm playing, regardless of whether it's a small part or a big part. I'm always very keen to, you know, yeah, give the project the best possible performance that I can, but also to bring myself fully to that performance. And I'm very big on research. I'm a big reader in any case, so doing research is just never a stretch for me. So I came across some interesting books during this journey of trying to build my character, so to speak. I won't give away too much detail as to the character, but one of the main things I can, touch on is the fact that as much of a mysterious figure that he is, I still had to give him some depth, right? Regardless of whether he's got dialogue or not, still had to make sure that I bring some substance to the performance. And the thing that led me to that is this research that I discovered. One of the best sources I found was the biography of Marcus Garvey, right? So yeah, obviously there was the Stephen Biko biography, I Write What I Like, um, the Marcus Garvey one, like I mentioned. I read some, obviously, Nelson Mandela, The Long Walk to Freedom, read that, um, and also some amazing documentaries on YouTube, of course. But the one that made a massive impact on me was the Marcus Garvey biography, because man, it's just this name keeps coming up. So my first introduction to Marcus Garvey was through, I'm a big reggae fan, huge reggae fan. So I've been listening to reggae, for as far back as I can remember. So I was through the legends, Bob Marley, Culture, Peter Tosh. Yeah, it's basically, that was the first time I heard the name. Must have been in high school, but never really bothered to do research and find out who this Marcus Garvey was. I kind of just took it from the music that I was listening to. So when I was doing the research for my role in Escape from Pretoria, I came across this thick biography, and yeah, got that biography, took it home, went through some pages, and that's when I started to really understand, yeah, his legacy, the legacy that he left for us, and why it's important to keep names like that in dialogue. You know, with the young kids that I come into contact with, I feel as though that history is easily lost. So I kind of just made that my responsibility to share some of the stuff that I found, very fascinating, very empowering as well. Learning about Pan Africanism and what Pan Africanism means. So one of the points that jumped out at me during my research for Escape from Pretoria were the Xhosa women. You know, we hear about these radicals, these male radicals that were powering through and um, shaking things up and spreading the gospel of freedom, basically. But we hardly ever hear of like the females, particularly ones that aren't really like the Winnie Mandelas, for instance. But there were a group of Xhosa women that it'd be such a tragedy to like completely leave that out of our everyday conversations when we speak to our young daughters, when we speak to our nieces, and just women in our communities. These are important stories. These are things that need to be known about these women that sort of vehemently protested against white supremacy. There's a group of women, a movement that was named the Amafela Ndawonye, which in Xhosa is it means those that die together or those that stand together, very loosely. So yeah, it's I'm proud to like have that history. Honestly, I'm proud to even discuss those certain things with my daughter. Like I have these conversations with my daughter about, powerful women and, what it means to be, yeah, just someone who gets things done, someone who's not afraid to challenge authorities. And, she gets it. I mean, at her age, like 6 years old, she understands it. For example, she she says something to me that I kind of had to slow her down, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, yeah, it's okay to think like that, But yeah, I remember the time we started walking through Aldi, like getting some groceries and stuff. Yeah, she was like to me, Dad, you know what we do to our boys that are rude? Yeah, we cut them. We cut them with a sharp object. I was like, wait, don't necessarily. It depends what they've done. you So yeah, I kind of just had to encourage that, and obviously there's a thin line because you don't want to condone violence, but at the same time, it's like if someone's being, an assailant, come on, man, self defense is a must for sure. My thoughts have changed completely, honestly. That kind of peaceful talk when it comes to my daughter, like I go hard with her. I let her know if self defense is a must. Of course, you don't want to be the perpetrator of violence against people, but at the same time, you need to know how to handle yourself, take care of yourself if it ever comes to that. And so, like I can rest assured that she knows how to take care of herself for sure. Yeah, and she learns that thoroughly, through like her martial arts lessons and such. So she understands that thin line very well, and I felt like the earlier I instill that in her, the better. And there's been some incidents that she's had to go through, and I was like, yeah, yep, see, this is exactly what I was telling you about. Right? I mean, we're not going to go out there and cut people with sharp objects for no reason. But yeah, yeah. So please do not give us a reason because it will go down for sure. But yeah, just going back to the cluster woman that I was talking about. To me, it's a point of pride, knowing that it was the women that were like taking care of things in the communities, to a point where like as I was reading this chapter, it it touches on the fact that they were even standing up against the unfair taxes that were being put on them, the excessive taxes they were being forced to pay, while these settlers or governing bodies didn't even want to pay for their agricultural produce. It just like I really feel a sense of like pride when I hear stories like that. And of course, the violent backlash these women had experienced because of standing up for themselves is yeah, it's sad to know that of course they couldn't be defended, and many of them were killed, many, right? And yeah, this is just history that's like lost. It's interesting that these areas, so geographically and culturally, the Eastern Cape, the Bondoland, Transkei, so those areas formed I want to say they formed like these are conquered territories, right? So when that part of South Africa was colonized, these were areas of sort of high contention, and so that's where the mentality was nurtured. That's where there's like headstrong resistance, from these communities, and understandably so. I mean, if there's violence being perpetrated against you constantly, and you're watching a village being burned, you're watching people that are close to you being murdered and such, you can imagine the type of spirit that evokes in you, right? So it's I was just so happy to find that in a book and find this story. It was so vivid, being from South Africa and understanding the certain rigorousness of the people there. You totally get where that comes from. You totally start seeing it, and it's beautiful that it's captured and it's there in history forever and ever as a reference. It's something I can pull out and show my niece, show my daughter. It's just like really empowering. And that's the interesting thing about like doing research. It takes you down this rabbit hole, and you end up discovering things about yourself that you would have never. You meet yourself on the other side. You meet this new person on the other side of the curtain, and you're like, oh yeah, man, that's. I don't know that I could be like this. I don't know that my people were like this, or my people can aspire or be daring, and it's something that I really like enjoyed. And I took that on. I internalized it for this character, to a point where without saying anything, right? I think what I did is I didn't give him like a voice, so to speak. I gave him a breathing pattern. So it's something that's so subliminal, like you would never see that on film. But yeah, that was just, my acting nerd, my nerd self. So I kind of gave him like he breathed differently to how I breathe. Yeah. And so that sense of urgency is like very visceral when you see that character appear on screen. It's just because of the way that I breathe. I kind of did this running 2-1-2 breathing pattern, 2-1-2 2-1-2, and I'd slow that down and I'd increase that, sort of pace that uh, according to like what the scene needed. Yeah, it's a great exercise discovering all these books, rediscovering my heritage, South African history. It's yeah, it's something that was very mind opening. A good experience that I'll forever cherish, having been part of like the process of making a film like that. Yeah, it's just really great. Just the research, the anticipation, the nerves. Being super nervous, and yeah, it's interesting. I've done stuff that's a bit more intense than that as well, but there was just like a certain nervousness with that. But I tried to like not let that overpower me, so I use that energy to just kind of drive me forward. But yeah, the importance of like the research I discovered, it was just notes, pages and pages of these notes that I took. I wish I could share everything, but yeah, those are the things I really wanted to just like emphasize on. Yeah. So peace.